I wanna be like you. I wanna be like you. I wanna be like you. I wanna be like you, you. I wish. I wish. Probably thought those were my real hands, when in fact, they were producer Christian's hands, playing a Stephen Sondheim classic. And that's the opening to Into the Woods. So, Stephen Sondheim, our guest today. No. Stephen Sondheim. He is a pillar of the musical theater. He is someone who, as you can tell, I'm wearing his shirt that he signed. And here's the thing about Sondheim. I've been obsessed with Sondheim for a couple of years now, but it's one of those things you don't really talk about because everyone is obsessed with Sondheim, right? I mean, if you're into musical theater, you're into Sondheim. One does not go without the other. You know, it's like if you're into Sondheim, if you're into theater, musical theater, if you're into musical theater, you're into Sondheim. If you're into hot dogs, you're into buns. If you're into burgers, you're into buns. If you're into hot dog burgers, you're into buns. You're always into buns. And so that's the same way with musical theater, is you're always into Sondheim if you're into musical theater, musicals. Does that mean Sondheim is to theater what buns are to hot dogs? Make sense? So, comprende? So, all in all, Sondheim is the Joey Chestnut of musical theater. Anyway, my point here. Today, we have Annbritt DuChateau on the podcast. All right. Now, who is Annbritt DuChateau? She's the current music director for one of my favorite shows I've ever seen, let alone one of my favorites of the season, Stephen Sondheim's Old Friends. And I want to clear up this discrepancy right now real quick. In the podcast, during the podcast, while we were filming it, I didn't realize this. I had mentioned that by the time this podcast airs, the show will have been closed. That is not true. The show is still on for the remainder of the week. It closes June 29th. So make sure, if you can, go get your tickets. And I also want to highlight, Stephen Sondheim's Old Friends is happening at Manhattan Theater Club at Samuel J Friedman Theater. And I believe, if I'm right about this, because this is how I did it, you can get 30 under 35 tickets. And I want to highlight that because accessibility in the theater is incredibly important. And I think it's amazing that you can get that price ticket to see Bernadette on stage right now. I've never seen her on stage. So to see her perform and to see her perform Losing My Mind and Sunday in the Park with George, it was emotional. It was beautiful. It was magical. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced and meant a lot to me. The whole show meant a lot to me. And as anyone who knows Sondheim's music knows, his music is complex. It's nuanced. It's layered with things from his lyrics to his music and the way he helps actors, and also how complex his orchestrations are, by Jonathan Tunick, usually, for the band to play. Annbritt is not just doing a Stephen Sondheim show. She is consistently playing music in this big Stephen Sondheim review, where you really get the vast majority of his catalog. So what Annbritt is doing is incredibly difficult because she's conducting the orchestra, playing through consistent Sondheim selections throughout the entire 2.5 hour piece. It's amazing. It's incredible. And just to riff off some of Annbritt's other credits, Aladdin, we get to talking about. She was there for the conception of the piece, bringing it up, and still works on it. Frozen, Some Like It Hot, Mary Poppins, Billy Elliot, The Frogs with Nathan Lane and Susan Stroman in 2004 at Vivian Beaumont Theater. It is unbelievable, her credits, and we get to talking about it all. So let's get right to it. Today, I want to be like Annbritt DuChateau. Welcome to I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes. Today, well, you know what? Before we do this, DuChateau. That's how you say it.
DuChateau.
DuChateau. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Welcome to another episode with Welcome to another episode of I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes. Today, I want to be like Annbritt DuChateau. That was pretty good, right? Yeah.
That was very good.
It was, thanks.
But are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Okay, so I have to tell you this. When we met, you definitely don't remember this because you were in an ECC. It was an 8-hour day for you. But we met at an ECC for something, I don't know. And probably Mattress, maybe Aladdin, one of those two. And I go and I sing this song, and I sing This Thing from Tootsie, right? And I go and I do it, and the song for some reason is written with an F as the final note, but it doesn't really make sense. It's like, what is this thing called you? And it goes down. And I finish, and you stopped me, and you were like, that should go up to a G. And I was like, I knew that in the back of my brain, but I just never wanted to do it because it was harder. But because of you, since then, I do it to a G all the time. Okay. So I think about you every time I do that song.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and thank you for that.
How was your room experience?
It was fantastic. Okay. It was fantastic. I thought it was super safe, sweet room, and it was a blast.
That's the objective.
Yeah, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Good.
Okay, we start the podcast with the same question every time, and it is, who was your I want to be like you when you were a kid?
Oh, okay. This is funny because I just posted something about it recently.
Oh, really?
Tell me if you know the name.
Uh-huh.
Victor Borge.
He sounds so familiar. I should know the name.
So he's no longer with us,
Uh-huh.
but he was a Swedish concert pianist.
Okay.
He was a comedian.
Oh.
And he was super famous and did the funniest stuff. I saw him live in person once when in my early 20s. And it was one of his last tours. And I grew up outside of Chicago. And so the Chicago Symphony summer home is Ravinia, and he played there. So it's a place where you can go. There's a theater. You can buy in the seats, or you can just buy lawn tickets and take a picnic.
The best. Those are the best.
So my mom and I, we bought tickets and saw him there. But there's a train that stops there that drops everybody by. And he's still here. He's brilliant. So go YouTube him. Go down
Victor
Borge, down the rabbit hole. But every time he would be doing something and the train would come by, he would transition into I've been working on the railroad or and just like Bach. He'd be playing Bach, and it would become
That is crazy.
Yeah, but
that's
he's
so cool.
So funny. He's the one that the opera singer starts to go, and he falls off the bench, and he opens the bench, he pulls out a seatbelt, and
that's awesome. Wow, that's great.
But he was a brilliant pianist.
Wow. Yeah. And so how old were you when you went to go see him?
Well, that was in my early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but I knew who he was growing up.
Wow.
Yeah, he was
that's
on TV.
awesome.
He'd be on the, back in the days when there were, Carol Burnett show or Donnie and Marie or what, those type of variety hours.
So you said you're from outside of Chicago in Aurora, Illinois, right?
I am.
Okay,
Wayne's
very
World.
Cool. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Do you know?
Yes,
Are you too young?
No.
Yeah.
We both just watched it. Wayne's World, yeah. So when did you start playing piano? How old were you?
I mean, by ear.
Yes,
I 2
years old.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
Wow.
I mean, my and we're not talking.
Yeah. You were a prodigy at 2.
Yeah, we're talking figuring stuff out.
Wow.
But played a lot by ear. I had no musicians in my family, but we had a piano in the house. Mm-hmm. My dad he was an opera lover. And my brother was taking lessons. Yeah. And so I kind of, you want to do everything your sibling does, right?
Of course, yeah.
And that's how it started. I took lessons when I was 4 from our church organist. And didn't like her, and I was like, but the next time I took lessons, I was 9, but I kept playing by ear.
Right.
And then the next teacher, when I was 9 years old, he was the one. He's a retired guy. He was Carl Benke. He was a teacher, but he also was, back in the day, early days, when they would have orchestra, live music on the radio stations. Yeah. He was the piano player and the organist for WGN, which is still a big station. In Chicago.
Oh, wow, very cool.
So,
So was this something you always wanted to pursue professionally, as you got older? Or was it more of a hobby?
I guess so. It was kind of funny, because I was thinking about this. I just kind of always thought, you're going to do music.
Yeah.
And nothing else entered my mind, and I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't want to be a nurse. Didn't want to be the the list of whatever. So, yeah, it was always there.
Yeah.
I started French horn when I was 5th grade.
Oh, cool.
I was a serious French horn player. I thought going into college I was going to be a French horn major. And when I do master classes, I tell everybody the story. So my teacher, he's still in the CSO. He was 4th chair in the CSO at the time. And I studied with him during the year. I took with the guy, Dale Clevenger, who played 1st chair in the summers. I had been in master classes with my friend's teacher, and the guy at Northwestern, who was the 3rd chair, was the one who auditioned me. And he said, just wait for your letter. And I got my letter. And guess what it said?
Oh.
Yeah, it was like, we're so sorry.
We're so sorry.
Yeah, and, it was, I found out late, if 3 people graduate, 3 people get in, and they were full. But thank goodness, because my band director called his best buddy at DePaul.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's where you wound up going to college.
That's where I went to college, and
What was your major exactly?
Well, I auditioned on both French horn and piano.
Wow.
Because why not?
Yeah.
And at that point, I was just, I guess I'd done another university, had done that. Yeah. This is in the days when you didn't go to 47 schools to audition.
Well, that's why we asked that question about college experience, because now it's such a business, right? I mean, the whole college experience is like there's the coaching and there's the pre-screens and all of the things.
The SATs or the ACTs. We were like, I took the ACT. Score. I was like, I was a great student, teacher's daughter, I was 4.0, but I could not take tests. And thank God I played a little piano and French horn, because but when I went for that, my band director called. It was a Friday, and he called the dean of the music school at DePaul. He said, you're not going to believe it. She was going to go there, and blah, blah, and they said, well, tomorrow is scholarship audition day, so she can come by. And we'll slip her in. Mm-hmm. No promises. Don't know, but she'll be seen by people. Right. So in the morning, I was playing in the Chicago Youth Symphony at the time. Mm-hmm. Had my rehearsal from 9 till noon, and then my parents drove me up to Lincoln Park. And my attitude at the time was probably the best attitude. It was like, well, I'm not going where I want to go. So
right. Yeah.
But it was like the best I ever played French horn was like that day.
Yeah. See, that's always, isn't that always kind of the case? Like you go into an audition and you're kind of like, I don't know if this is going to work out. I'm not sure what this is. And then all of a sudden it winds up being the most relaxed you are. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
So then I played for the piano faculty, and there were 5 teachers. And my soon-to-be teacher was in there, Mary Sauer, who was the pianist of the Chicago Symphony for more than 50 years.
Wow.
She was picked by Fritz Reiner when she was accompanying the Chicago Symphony Chorus.
Wow.
And she was the first official keyboard chair for an orchestra.
Oh my gosh.
So they would come, how it, go in and you play I was watching, and they'd play, and somebody would, and you'd stop.
Yeah.
I was playing some Debussy piece, and I started playing, and I was playing. And the next thing I know is she had walked up on stage. They've been trying to get my attention to stop. And I was so into it. And she said, that's when I knew you were going to be my student.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
She's amazing.
So where did you get, because after you finished college, you also got your MFA as well, right? Was it MFA?
I got a master's.
Master's.
Piano performance.
Yes.
At DePaul.
Oh, you did? It was at DePaul as well?
Yes, it was random because I got asked, I wasn't going to do a master's, but then my teacher and the dean said, they were looking for a new choral department person. They were bringing somebody in for 2 years. And they said, do you want to do your master's and be his assistant and just help him and accompany the choir concerts? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I was like, sure, for free.
Yeah.
I was like, sure, I'll do that. And Richard Rosewall, he, at the time, said to me, he's like, well, if you're going to do every concert, you should conduct one piece every concert. And, playing French horn, I'm watching lots of different conductors.
Yeah.
And while I was I guess my senior year through doing my master's, I was in the civic orchestra, which is like the training orchestra for the CSO. So I learned how to rehearse a choir, and going back to my piano teacher, she had me do everything. She said, you should really take that jazz arranging class or that jingle writing class,
right,
and keep playing in the orchestra and the wind ensemble, but play for Anne Pareko's voice studio.
Well, and what did you learn how to conduct when you were getting your bachelor's?
Well, everybody has to take conducting 101.
Okay.
So you all take the basics.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like conducting is like learning it's like a separate language in and of itself.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Definitely.
and so tell me about what do you think makes a great conductor, and also what interested you about it? When did you become interested in it?
Well, two separate questions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a different thing for different people.
Right.
I mean, and everybody looks, you're not a robot. You're not going to look exactly like the next person. Like, I have two associates on this show. We don't look anything. We do the same show, but we don't look like each other. I saw Dudamel in LA when we were there. And, and yes. But he's just being in it emotionally, being in it intellectually, making sure that people can read you easily, I think is important.
Right.
And orchestral conducting is so different from doing what I do on Broadway, where you do the same thing 8 times a week, except it's not. Everybody's like, don't you get bored? I'm like, no.
Yeah. No.
You don't.
But you're also conducting actors, and unlike Dudamel, I mean, depending on what the situation is, that is, you're conducting singers, and that's a whole nother beast. And also in your position, the way that the stage is framed, and we should mention in Stephen Sondheim's Old Friends, it's fantastic. But the way that the stage is, you're upstage. And so it's not like you're in front of them.
No, right. And center with the orchestra going out that way, I have a monitor in front of me, so that I can see the stage.
Right.
I mean, their heads are like that big, but I can still see what's going on.
Right. What are you thinking about in terms of conducting? Because you're doing both at the same time, right? I mean, they know their cues. I'm not saying that, but it's just like, what are you thinking about in terms of managing both things at once? Like, what would you say is the key to that?
Well, you're juggling a lot of different things from your vantage point. I always say, you're driving the bus, but, there's many people that are running a show, but from the conductor's point of view, you're not only taking care of your orchestra, and might not all be regular players. You might have subs. You might have to take care of certain people or make sure people know where they're coming in. You might have an understudy that goes on, like Maria was out last night, Alexa went on. Our show is interesting how it changes. It's not just one person that slides into everybody's.
Right.
So you're taking care of your cast on stage, and then at the same time, I always know that your stage manager who's calling the show is watching you for various cues. Right. So there's a lot.
You're kind of leading the show in a certain respect, Yeah,
definitely.
Especially in a show like this, because the show is all music.
Yes, it is.
And you're on the whole time.
I am on the whole time.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about this. I just want to know a little bit about this. I read this, and this could be not true. I'm not sure. But it says that you left before your recital, your doctoral recital. It says. To be in the national tour of Aspects of Love. Is that right?
That's true.
Yeah? Oh, wow, cool. Look at that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well,
so this is when you were getting your master's?
Doctorate,
yes, right, of course.
Ask me where.
Where?
Northwestern.
Oh, wow. How fancy.
They had me back.
Nice.
But that was a random thing, too. I got a phone call one day, and they were like, we're still waiting for your application. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it turned out that the two deans knew each other, were best friends, and they needed somebody at Northwestern to teach, as I like to call, gang piano, group piano. I guess, I don't know if you all have to do that for acting. You should.
What?
Learn how to play some piano for yourself.
I wish.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you get a sense of it, right? We had to take musicianship classes and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah. So you understand like different, especially in terms of reading. I gained a lot from that class, from musicianship class. Yeah.
Yeah. So randomly got called to do that, and I was like, I can't pay for this, and they said, oh no, this is, you do the degree and you get paid the grad assistant fee.
Okay, sure.
I did all the coursework. I played for the choirs. Did finished everything.
Right.
Was getting ready to like get down to the finishing.
Yeah.
And my friend Paul Raymond, who it's funny, he also was a trumpet player, piano player. He was super into musical theater. That's how he was making his money through college. I didn't know one thing about musical theater. I mean, that's not true. I mean, I'd done a couple things in high school or whatever.
Sure.
But he called me and he said, I'm going on the ALW tour. It's going to Japan and Australia. There's a show coming down to Chicago. And I told the contractor that you're the only one to call because it's legit classical piano, very featured, very exposed. And so she's going to call you. So, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the show.
Right.
I mean, it was not a big hit.
No, it wasn't. This is aspects of love.
I do think it's some of his better music that he's. I really love the music that was written for it.
Yeah.
Terrible story, but but it was one of those. It was a live event. Canadian came down. Linda Balgord.
Wow.
Was Roe, Ron Bomer.
Wow.
David Masonheimer, Brad Oscar.
Yes.
Was on the tour.
Yes.
I mean, like,
he was on this podcast talking about that.
Mary Sugarman. Was in the cast.
Oh my gosh.
Dana Lynn Caruso. I mean, like, all these people.
Sure.
So yeah, that was the beginning of it, and I got the music a month before, and I was terrified. And I'm not the nervous type, but I was like, I am going to play this show every day with the recording. Like, so I just know. So we go into our first rehearsal, and the conductor, Paul Sportelli, keeps like looking at me, and I'm like, I'm gonna get fired. I'm like, why is he looking at me? Yeah. So it gets to the end of day one, and he says, okay, that was a great day, everybody. Hey, Annbritt, can you stop by and talk to me? I'm like, this is it. I'm gonna get fired from my first job. Yeah. He's like, did you play this in New York? How come you know this? So, and I was like, no, just played it every day for 30 days before I got in. But that ended up, I mean, like, it's the saying yes. Yeah. Is the story of my life. Right. Because I got done with my undergrad and, okay, I'll do my master's. Okay, I'll do a doctorate. Yeah. Okay, I'll go do this show in Chicago, which then they decided to do a tour after that. Right. They're like, and I thought, well, I'll go out and I'll do this for a year and I'll see America and I'll see all the cities, and then I'll come back and figure out what I'm going to do with my life. Right.
Well, so when did you decide to move to New York?
Well, after another conductor that came in that I met on that tour, actually took me first to do Phantom in San Francisco. Yeah. And while I was there, and that was a Phantom that they thought would maybe play 1 or 2 years, just because of how San Francisco is, and they ran for more than 5.
Oh wow! And it was based in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, it was a sit down.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was Lisa Froman. Started with Davis Gaines. It was some of the LA company had moved up to San Francisco. A year and a half into that, got a call from the supervisor asking me to transfer to the Miss Saigon tour. Oh. And he said, you can say no, but. And I was like, well, I should just go because I should. And it was my friend Paul that was the MD on it. And I was like, of course I'm going to go do this. Yeah. And I was out there ended up for 4 years. And Paul left, and my friend Mark Mitchell took over for Paul as the MD. and he was there for a year. And at the end of it, he said to me when he was leaving and I was moving up to take over, he said, you really need to meet Paul Gemignani. And since I had no intention of going into the world of Broadway, I said, who's that? Because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And he said, well, he's, Sondheim's, I knew who Stephen Sondheim was.
Yes.
He said, he's Stephen Sondheim's music director, and you should really meet him. And I said, well, why? And he said, because you're kind of the female Paul Gemignani. And I went, okay. I have no clue what that means.
Yeah.
I hope it was a compliment.
Yeah, that's kind of the largest compliment.
But I stayed on the road for a couple more years with Saigon, Tom Sesma.
Yes.
I saw that you talked to him.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
And
he was on that with you?
Yeah, he was my first engineer.
Oh, no way.
Listen
I didn't
to
realize
this.
that.
Listen, and it was Tom, Didi Lamagno, and our 4 Chris's started with Matt Bogart, and then Steve Pasquale, then Will Chase.
Oh my gosh.
And then ended with Will Swenson.
Wow. That is crazy.
Those 4
were in Saigon. Matt Bogart. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So but did you meet Paul?
I did.
You did.
So Mark left, and he had said to me, whenever you are visiting, just let me know and we'll set it up. So there was one time, and the great thing about the Saigon tour, it was the dream tour. There are no tours like this anymore, where it was the Broadway set, just scaled down a little bit. I think we traveled with 16 trucks, something like that.
Wow.
I mean, a helicopter.
Yeah.
We would play a city for 1 or 2 months at a time.
Okay.
So you got an apartment, I had my car, I had my cats, I had, it was, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So in between cities, people would go home, or they would,
right.
You'd have 5 days in between. And we traveled with our own orchestra, which was amazing.
That is awesome.
And so one November, I told him, I said, I'm going to come to New York and visit some friends, and I'm going to see you. And they were rehearsing Christmas Carol. And so we had lunch together, and he said, come upstairs and meet Paul. And I was like, oh my God. I hadn't even thought about it. He was like, just come say hi. So we go upstairs to the rehearsal room, and Mark says, Paul, this is Britt. This is who I've been telling you about. And he says, great. Nice to meet you. When you got more than 5 minutes to give me, let me know when you're back. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Okay. Because that's, you know what he looks like? He's like big, giant Italian guy,
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So then in February, I was coming back again, and I wrote him an email and poured over it. And Mark said, make it short.
Yeah.
Don't everybody make it short.
I
said, we met in November. I'm coming back. If you have time, that'd be great. And he wrote back within 30 minutes and said, meet me Tuesday at Sam's on the corner of 46 at noon. PG. That was it.
Wow.
I was like, okay. And the day before I got in, and another friend, actually multiple friends, had set up a meeting with another conductor that was doing another show that I won't say who it is.
Okay. Okay.
But I met with the person.
Yeah.
And went into their dressing room area, and I did not even have my coat off. It's February. I did not have my coat off. And they put music, piano vocal in front of me and said, play this. And I'm like, okay, all right. Like, we hadn't even really said hello yet. I was like, okay, and played it. And they were like, okay, down a minor third. I'm like, okay, down a minor third, because that's what you got to do.
Sure.
And I kind of like giggled nervously, and they said, what's so funny? I was like, I just didn't know what to expect. We haven't even said hello. And he's like, well, like, why, like, I have to know if you play piano, and if I just have to know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's fine. The next day, I meet Paul, and he's made his order, and we're sitting there, and he said, so how long have you been on Miss Saigon? And I said, it's been 4 years. And he goes, Jesus Christ, I get bored after 2 weeks. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to give him your notice and tell him that you're quitting in August. And you're going to be here in September. And you're going to be my rehearsal pianist for Kiss Me Kate. I'm going to have you in the dance room because David Chase is leaving. And then you're going to be my assistant conductor because Mark was associate conductor. And you'll be the first call sub. And so it wasn't, would you like to, will you, would this, it was like,
this is what it is.
this is what you're doing.
Wow. Oh my
I was like,
God.
okay.
So there it is. You're hired by Paul.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Didn't hear me play piano.
So he was just
didn't
trusting
see
Mark.
me conduct.
Right.
Yeah.
He was just trusting Mark's work.
I mean, you don't come to New York with a job.
Yeah.
Except my husband and I did.
Yeah.
He finished up the Saigon tour and it was closing and I don't even remember who left, but somebody left Saigon on Broadway and they had 6 more months to go or so.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, do you want to do this? So he came and did that. And, you know,
and there it is, your Broadway debut.
Lucky, yeah.
Broadway debut, Kiss Me
Yeah.
Kate. Tell me a little bit about that production, because that production is such like a, you know, the production. You know what I mean?
It is the production.
You know, right?
I'm a little biased about it. I'll tell you what I remember vividly being in the room one day with Michael Blakemore, Paul Gemignani, Kathleen Marshall as the choreographer, Rob Ashford as her assistant, Joanne Hunter in the cast. You know, you know, these people that were in the ensemble, but like Stokes,
yeah,
Marin, my first leading,
Marin Maisie
people. You know, Michael Barres and Amy Spanger. What? I mean, like there was not a weak link in the vicinity. It was just. And nobody yelled, nobody got stressed, Michael Blakemore was just so chill. And Paul's pretty much can be, I mean, well, he was too, you know. It was just an amazing room to be in. And I remember thinking, well, this is Broadway and it's downhill from here. Because it's like, you know, it's like the best of the
What theater
best.
was that?
It was at the Martin Beck.
Ah, okay, yes.
I still call it the Martin Beck.
The Martin Beck, Al Hirschfeld now.
It's not the Hirschfeld to me, but
wow, that's
but
so
I mean,
interesting.
I remember like Stokes and Marin when we went from the studio, 890 Broadway.
Yeah.
When we went from the studio and went to the theater for the first time, Stokes and Marin had everybody get on the stage. I mean, they led the company and they had us get on the stage and we all held hands and they had stories about the theater and here's who has stood in that stage, which weirdly I had never really thought about before, you know.
Right.
I mean, that's my, you know, I thought I was going to be concert pianist or something.
Yeah.
Like this was not in my horizon. So you're kind of going, what? Who?
Yeah.
Ethel who? What?
Yeah,
you know, like
right,
you just don't put it together until the moment.
What did you learn out of that experience when it comes to music directing with Paul? Like, what were you gaining from that? I mean, I should mention this. I don't think I fully understood the job of a music director until I got to college. And it's because in my head as a kid, music director was taking you to the music, period.
Right.
You know? and then I worked with the lovely, the brilliant Wendy Bobbitt-Cavett. And she worked at Wagner. And also Laura Young, I should say, Dr. Laura Young. She was also brilliant. And we worked... The two of them really shaped my idea of like, oh, this is adding a tone here, adding, you know, different dynamics to create the same thing a director is doing and choreographers are doing in the same vein. So I guess like, what were you gaining through Paul as the music director, right?
Right. And it's probably good that I didn't
know that going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the shows that I was doing, Aspects of Love, backing up to that, the way so my friend that went to do Phantom, he left, they bumped up the associate who was Canadian, who came down, and they were like, well, who are we going to have as associate conductor? And I said, these words. Well, how hard could it be?
Mm.
Because I didn't know.
Right.
Good thing, because
Yeah.
that was a hard show. It's like really hard show to get. Better to not know. It's like when you're young and you don't know any better.
Yeah.
That's when you do all the crazy stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right.
But 6 months in,
Yeah.
Andrew put Sarah Brightman in our cast. And guess what? She liked me. She liked how I paced the show.
Yeah.
And she ended up asking, she said, Annbritt's going to conduct my 5 shows.
Wow.
And he will conduct. Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was on the job learning.
Right.
And then I got to be with my friend who was an opera conductor doing Phantom, and he was legit, and I learned a lot from him. And then going to Saigon, So coming finally to working with Paul, like I personally have never been a nervous Nelly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you are when you're in your audition room, but
not so much anymore.
Yeah,
but.
I mean it's kind of I just have never had those nerves issues, and Paul is so laid back, smooth, which like resonated with me. It's like, oh, if you don't get stressed and angry or whatever on the podium, your players play better and your singers sing better, and they'll say one day, oh, we had a great show today, and it might be because like you let them breathe a little bit more, or you moved it a little bit more where you felt what. So he is so intuitive about that,
right,
with singers, actors, as well as like pit musicians too. I learned from him to try everything. He never said no to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If an actor said, do you think we could do it this way, if it wasn't like changing the music or something like that, he would be like, sure, let's try it and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if it worked, it worked, and if it didn't, I was like, nah.
Well, especially because you're working on Kiss Me Kate. It's not a new musical. You're
Correct.
putting together a show that is pretty iconic.
Right.
And so, and when we talk about vocal quality, right? The styles of, let's talk a little bit about that actually, because the styles of music that your career has ranged is all over the gamut.
All over the place.
We're talking about aspects of Love, which is totally different from Into the Woods, which is totally different from freaking Frozen. I mean, these are so. I guess talk about how you're implementing this a vocal color, I should say, in a show like Kiss Me Kate versus a show like Aladdin or Frozen.
Well, a lot of it depends on the composer and
what they want, or in the terms of a revival, right?
Like it's been done,
right? And
do you do the revival in the way it had been done initially, or do you turn it on its head, or things like that? I mean, like different composers have different sounds. Yeah. Unless you're Sondheim and you have many sounds. Yeah. I mean, like that's the thing about the show right now is like you're going from Forum to Company to Woods to West. It's like all over the gamut, and you realize he didn't have just one sound. Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah. But did I answer the question? I don't know.
No, you did. That makes sense. And I think like and it speaks to exactly what you're saying. In a review like this that you guys are doing, it's like the vocal quality's all over, and that's why you have, I mean, obviously Bernadette, Leah, Gavin, Beth. These are like icons, stars, superstars. They can do they're chameleons in that way, but also your killer ensemble is able to adapt toward one second we're watching Gypsy, and then the next it's West Side, or it's like you said, Woods, and those they flip on a dime, and I think that's really a testament to them and them being just as strong as you guys are. Talk to me a little bit about this is such a funky credit that you cannot have this credit on your resume and me not ask you about it. The Frogs with Nathan Lane. Yeah. You were the associate on that.
I was.
talk to me about, I guess, how you got that job and what it was like working on that show, because it feels almost like you're developing a new Sondheim show in certain respects. It wasn't yet, but it was.
I mean, so in terms of like once I did Kiss Me Kate with Paul, pretty much it was Mark and me with him
Paul.
for a while.
Oh wow. Amazing.
But at that time, they were doing the Assassins revival. It was super close. So, Paul, we did rehearsals for Frogs.
Yeah.
And God, I think it happened in that order.
Because you guys were working on both simultaneously.
Because it was like spring into fall was Frogs, and then he went to go do Assassins.
Oh, okay.
So I conducted the majority of Frogs.
Oh my gosh.
With Nathan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how did you know the Frogs going into the Frogs?
Oh God, no.
Yeah, like how could you have?
It was like in a swimming pool, right?
Yeah. Well, it was in Yale, the swimming
Yale.
pool, but
That
that's
was
pretty
his
much
project.
up to that point. That was pretty much the only rendition
Production.
of it. Yeah.
And crazy people in that production too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, am I making it up? Like Meryl
Meryl
Streep?
Streep, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say
She
Meryl.
was in the pool with them.
Meryl Streep was in
Yeah.
crazy.
So it was Nathan's idea to like update it or redo it or whatever. And Stephen was like, cool.
Yeah.
Because that's how he was. He was like, yeah, let's do whatever
Just do
you
it,
want, you know.
You should do it at Lincoln Center. Like,
which is a wonderful place to work, by the way. They're just so
we were
great
there last night. We saw Floyd last night. Brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk later.
Yeah.
Because Adam Ghetto.
Yeah.
Mayor Rogers.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know if I should talk about this. Because someone was cast and then somebody else came in.
Okay.
Roger Bart came in and replaced somebody.
Okay.
And the sidekick.
Okay.
To Nathan.
Yeah.
And because we had been in rehearsals with this person and it just wasn't working. And had the creatives meeting. We're like, what are we going to do? And Stroh was like, we're calling Roger. And we came in on the day off on the Sunday with just the few people and Roger and taught him the show. And he basically came in the next day and had it like...
Wow.
He blew me away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
he's incredible.
And
that score is tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, also it's a little tricky, but that score is really tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what is it like? You were getting new songs from Sondheim, right, for that production?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yes. Yeah.
You're working on things no one's ever heard from,
right.
And he's coming back and doing.
Right.
He talks about it in the book. It was like 3-4 songs, and he's.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not really a headspace that he's like used to. He's already been 2002.
Yeah.
Right.
He's already went through dark, light, everything.
And also new passages from Nathan.
Yeah. I mean, so it was just one of these weird out of the box. How are you? Yeah, I'm sure. And like, how are you? Especially when presented with a new song like that, you're being given this new material. What did Sondheim tell you about this material when you're thinking about, or you and Paul and Mark, when it came to conducting this and bringing this to Broadway? I mean, like, what are you thinking about? And I guess the thing about it wasn't so much him telling us what to do.
Well, yeah.
I think it's more like discovering it and letting it
breathe,
do its thing, and see where it goes. And do we want to tweak this, or do we not like that lyric, or
sure,
things like that.
Right.
I mean, like the word that comes to mind for both Gemignani and Sondheim is organic. That everything just happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and in that way, I think about like the early recordings of Sondheim. Everything's not perfect.
Right.
And Paul never went for, he was not like a cutoff guy, like I would go, don't you want to cut out, like,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
like that.
Right.
But that wasn't what he was listening to, big
Yeah.
picture
Yeah.
type of things.
So you guys are giving those types of inputs and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That's so cool. That's
Well,
awesome.
that's what's so interesting is that you talk about it in musical theater, like this Shakespeare, this level of like genius, and when he talked about it, he was like, I'm just the guy that puts this theme to that theme and puts it backwards for this character.
Right,
And
Right.
yeah, he considered himself to be that, and that opened it up. It seemed like it opened it up for really interesting collaboration
Yeah.
Yeah.
and really easy collaboration.
Right.
I mean, I guess, that's probably where Gemignani got it, was never saying no.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Was
Right.
was taking Sondheim's lead.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. Let's talk about your work with Disney. Did Mary Poppins, you did Aladdin and Frozen.
And yes. And
Right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And I've done other supervisory things.
Can you talk to me about because Disney in and of itself feels like a style. There's, we always talk about like Golden Age musical theater style and contemporary musical theater style, and then there's contemporary classic, and there's mega musical stuff with Andrew Lloyd Webber, but Disney in and of itself has its own kind of niche, it's its own
Right.
style, and even though in truth something like Poppins and Frozen are totally different, there's still some sort of like a Disney umbrella that serves over all of the music and certainly over the performance and all this other stuff. How did you get the job on Poppins?
Oh, good question. Because what were we doing? I think I was doing Pal Joey with Paul.
Mhm.
That might have been my last thing with Paul.
Oh yeah.
So I got a phone call, and it was a contractor for Mary Poppins'
Mm-hmm.
first national tour.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a friend of mine. He said, I know you can say no, but I had to make sure that you were my first phone call, just in case. But Cameron just fired the music director for the tour.
Mm.
And it was like Tuesday, phone call. It's like, and they start rehearsal next Monday.
Wow.
Would you consider conducting the tour?
Yeah.
And it was rehearsing and starting in Chicago. So it was in Chicago, February 1st through mid-July.
Mm-hmm.
So it's home for me. So, and I found out afterwards that Cameron said, like, call Annbritt. She'd like to go home for a bit. So at this point, I'm married and my sons are 3 and 6.
Mm.
And my husband, who we met on the Saigon tour,
Mm-hmm.
and we do the same thing. I don't play cello. He plays cello.
Yes.
And piano. He kind of said, I think you have to do this
Yeah.
because you don't know.
Right.
Because to explain for people that don't know, I mean, Poppins was co-produced with Cameron Mackintosh and Disney because Cameron was given the rights by P.J. Travers to the
Mhm.
book. She hated the movie.
Yes.
And Disney had their rights for the movie and that kind of music.
Mhm.
So it was a Sherman Brothers music along with
some new additions.
Yes. So I decided to do it, and I
Yeah.
said I will do the first 8 months. I will do all of Chicago, and I will get you moved, and I will rehearse your first orchestra, and we can train
Yeah.
whoever comes after me.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Tom Schumacher and Ann Court and all those people that work
Incredible.
that run
Disney
Disney
Theatrical.
Theatricals.
Right.
And yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it was fortuitous. I mean,
'Cause you were on Poppins for years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I did
On and
the
off.
8 months.
Yeah.
It was still running on Broadway, and then I did, I think, a 6-month. The MD took a leave of absence, and I covered for 6 months.
Sure.
And sadly, right after I left, like the next day, they announced that they were closing in March. It was
I see.
2013.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
But I wrote Tom Schumacher the next day, and I said, thanks so much. That was a blast. And he wrote me right back and said, well, what are you doing now? I was like, nothing. And he's like, well,
we're working on this thing.
Yeah, it's like, we need you on Aladdin, but I can't hire you. You got to get hired by Kaz. I'm going to put you two in touch. So that's how that happened.
Yeah. That's so interesting. It's so funny how those things work out. Everything just kind of like bounces on to the next thing and bounces on to the
well,
next
the
thing.
thing about Frozen was I call it the interdepartmental transfer. Was I'd been on Aladdin for 3.5 years, and Frozen was, well, when we were in Toronto for our pre-Broadway with Aladdin, they showed us Frozen. They took the company and showed us Frozen in the movie theater. Like, we had a little outing.
Oh, before it came out?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and like immediately following, I went up to Tom Schumacher and I was like, that's
Yeah.
and he's like, it's too soon. It's too, well, they were fast tracking it.
Yeah, well.
So,
I'm sure, yeah.
So I moved over to Frozen. I was sad to leave Aladdin because I loved it there.
Yeah.
And Michael Cosrin, he's brilliant. For anybody that doesn't know him, I mean, he does everything for Alan Menken.
Oh, okay.
All the arranging, all the everything.
Oh, okay.
Interesting thing about Frozen was I was involved in the first 2-week workshop with Alex Timbers.
Oh.
And it was just a, music stand, learn the music, the script, bring in the bigwigs at the end of that.
Yeah.
And see what you have. And then things changed.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was then Michael Grandage was brought on.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know why, but
these things happen. They happen all the time. Yeah.
And then we had a pandemic.
How much? Yeah, right. How much input are you having in terms of? There's so many things that go into casting an Aladdin, an Anna, and Elsa. These are iconic characters. How much input do you have especially when it comes to vocal quality on them getting cast? Like, especially like Anna and Elsa, they're doing vocal gymnastics.
Yeah.
Especially Elsa. My gosh. And that new monster and what's the other one? Dangerous to Dream.
Yeah. My favorite piece in the whole show.
It's beautiful song, but it's also still like she's doing plenty.
Yeah.
And Let It Go is plenty.
Yeah.
So I guess how much input do you have in casting?
Well, on that show, they know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
You've got your composers there.
Right, of course.
Got Stephen Aremus there. You've got,
Yeah.
Tom and Ann are in on it. The director knows. So there is a whole. Yeah. I was an associate on that show.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
Yeah. I would.
Subsequently, though, you still work on and off with Aladdin, right, or no?
I'm there now. I'm technically on a leave of absence. So I Frozen closed.
Yeah.
Well, let me back up to Aladdin because I was in on all the Aladdin auditions.
Mm.
And I think I played most of them here.
Yeah.
Like once it got to the point where it's Kaz and Casey and everybody at the table.
Yeah.
That's a story too for actors.
Yeah.
Is in that room, the person would come in and do their thing. This is 2013. And Casey would go, great, thank you so much. Person would leave, and he would say, put that in the Mormon pile, put that in the Aladdin pile, put that in the Shakespeare or something rotten pile. Put that in the unnamed.
The prom.
Before it was
real. The prom.
There was 4 or 5.
Wow.
So people, you don't know what you're auditioning.
You really never know what you're really auditioning for.
You do not know what you're going
That's
for.
really interesting. Wow. Because it was just Casey was working on all these shows.
That's what I learned from that audition room.
That is wild.
Was like, wow, he's
thinking ahead.
Yeah, way ahead.
Yeah.
And you're like, you might come in for this, and you're totally wrong, but boy, you'd be perfect for this other thing.
Yeah, right.
So he's very smart like that.
Yeah.
But the casting people, they know what they're doing in terms of like who they're bringing in for what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you were saying you're on leave of absence from Aladdin now?
Yeah. So then I did Frozen.
pandemic. But what happened to me during that was we started setting up Frozens outside the country while
Yes.
Broadway was done. So
Right.
I was gone for 6 months. The first thing, we went to Tokyo first for 10 weeks. It was mid-April through June.
How cool.
2 weeks quarantining.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. I love Japan.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go back.
Yeah.
And then I was home for 3 weeks, and then I went to Bristol, UK, to help Kaz with the Beauty and the Beast tour.
Uh-huh.
And then I said, hey, as long as I'm here, shouldn't I check in on Frozen? Because Stephen was setting up the London, and they were like, yeah. So I went there for a couple weeks.
So cool.
Came
That's
back in
awesome.
September. Came back in September when things were starting to start up again.
Yeah. Right.
And got sent to Schenectady Buffalo to restart the Frozen tour.
Wow.
Was there for 5 days, then got sent to Hamburg
Oh yeah.
for
Sure.
3 weeks for the Frozen there, came
Sure.
home for a couple of weeks, went back for another 5.
Interesting. It's
Yeah.
so funny how Disney will take you kind of all over the place because
Yeah.
they're stationed all over the place.
Yeah.
They're they happen to start things here in per se, but then they tour around the
Yeah.
entire world.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. But you're saying you're on a leave of absence from Aladdin right now.
Yeah, so then when that, it was funny. I was asked to do auditions for Aladdin. It was July
Uh huh.
for the week, and on the last day, I think it was for the tour and for Vacation Swings. And the last day, Casey came in.
Mm.
And Casey's like, where have you been? Whatever. And they were doing Some Like It Hot.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing Some Like It Hot at the time. And I got home and I said to my husband, I was like, I know who's conducting it. Like, should I write Mary Mitchell? Mary Mitchell Campbell was
Yes.
the supervisor.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, might as well. I mean, like, we knew each other. We weren't friends at that point.
Yeah.
But, like, we all know each other.
Right,
Tiny
right.
little community.
Yeah.
So I emailed her and I said, I know this is super random, but I just did a audition with Casey and I know you're doing Some Like It Hot. And it's probably too late, but if you need help, let me know.
Yeah.
And she wrote me right back. She's like, can we talk tomorrow morning? And that's how that happened.
Oh wow.
Like,
very cool.
Being on that show.
Yeah.
Working with Mark and Scott. Like,
Yeah.
all these composers are so...
What are they giving you in terms of those little, like we talked about Sondheim and saying, but in terms of, because I guess it's a silly question, and I guess I've asked it already, but it's like, what are they telling you in terms of like, oh, I want, especially when it comes to orchestrations, people who are working on orchestrations and then communicating to you, because you're the show is in your hands subsequently. And so I think about, is it something where it's like, give me some more this, give me some more that? In terms of levels, does that make sense?
It does make sense, and that's more. Music directors will have input, but really the composers
Setting that.
are gonna know what they want orchestration wise. Or they'll choose who their orchestrator is,
Mm-hmm.
knowing how that person functions, works.
Mm.
They usually like their work ahead of time, and then you have your piano vocal, and like the dance arranger will come in and they'll do their thing, and they'll write it usually in a way that's impossible to play on piano. But what they're trying to do is like give you all their ideas so that the
Right.
orchestrator can flush it out
Right.
into the their orchestration.
Right.
And then sometimes, maybe music director or supervisor will say like this doesn't feel exactly like, is this too busy?
Yeah.
Do we want to like pull stuff away? Do we need to,
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
it's a big joint effort. It's a
Yeah.
big communal effort.
Yeah, right.
Or
right,
the
right.
director
Especially
will
team
say what he,
Right,
I'm not hearing
right.
this. Like in the room, we had this, like we want to have this hit on this,
Yeah.
like, make sure that's,
So this takes us to Stephen Sondheim's old friends.
Yeah.
we were so stoked about this show. I've been stoked about this show forever. So the second they announced the Broadway run, I was there first day of the box office. I bought tickets. Secret. I bought them 5 minutes before it even opened. That's how I got 30 Under 30 early.
There you go.
Because I was at the box office like waiting.
Yeah.
And so we were there the first week of the show, and it's just, I mean, it's everything. Unfortunately, this episode comes out after it will have closed.
Oh, bummer.
But it was brilliant. And we loved it. And the thought, I mean, just the thought of like, I'd never seen Bernadette in anything. I miss Dolly. So I was like, I'm going to get to see Bernadette. I'm going to get to see Bernadette. And losing my mind too. Gosh.
Yeah.
How did Old Friends come to you? Because you were part of the West End production as well, right?
No.
You weren't?
Not at all.
Okay. Gotcha.
No.
So then how did you get involved in it?
So, Cameron.
Okay.
So, my first chunk of career was Cameron shows.
Yeah.
And then I got here, and it was 12 years of Sondheim. I mean, so it was, working with Paul and Kiss Me Kate, but did Into the Woods revival. Also did Into the Woods Shakespeare in the Park, called it the Treehouse. Frogs. But I also played the Assassin's Reunion concert, and I played the Passion Reunion concert. I subbed on the version of Sunday in the Park that came over. I did, one of my favorite things was doing company with the New York Philharmonic.
Yes, right. Yeah, so cool.
With, the no names, Neil Patrick Harris and Patty and Stephen Colbert and Martha Plimpton,
John Cryer. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, so so I had that whole part of my career and got a call from Seth Sklar saying, we're going to bring this over and we think you're the person to do it.
Yeah.
Will you come meet with Alfonso, who was the MD in London and was supervising here? So went and had a meeting and chatted a little bit, and then it just kind of happened. And I just, I just remember thinking, somebody got it right. like they looked down and it's just the perfect combination of having the Sondheim knowledge, having been in the room, that's part of my history, but I also know Cameron and I know how he works. And so I just have been grateful.
You did it in LA as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's talk about, I want to talk about, actually Christian pitched in and gave us some of these questions because Christian's a composer on his own, and he also was, the both of us are Sondheim super fans and are this close to finishing Look, I Made a Hat. And I want to talk to you about the different, because you're running the gamut of his career, and there are different versions of his Sweeney. There's 7 Sweeney Todds, and 6 Into the Woods, and all. What versions of each are you guys doing when it comes to these arrangements, and what are you thinking in terms of
dynamically?
Yeah, cast recording and all this other stuff. When you're doing something like Into the Woods that's been done a million times.
Right. I mean, I think the big takeaway from this show is that we're not doing the show. Right. I mean, clearly you can't do all of Company.
Yeah.
You can't do all of Into the Woods.
Right.
You can't do all of whatever. It's snippets of shows, and we're not wedged into whatever's been done before. Was kind of the takeaway.
Right.
Clearly, because Bernadette's playing Little Red.
Yeah, right.
I mean, she's in a couple parts getting to do things that she would never be cast for.
Right.
Or she never did.
Yeah.
So, I think that was a big takeaway.
Yeah.
From it. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, you are.
Yeah, that you guys made it your own.
Yeah, they really did. And the whole first version was the gala that they did, where it was different people for when, sadly this was something that Sondheim and Cameron had talked about doing together, creating together.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, for a while. And then we had the pandemic, and then
Right.
Sondheim passed away, and Cameron wanted to do this for the dedication of the
Right.
Sondheim Theater on the West End. So that's why they did the gala.
I see.
And that's what that whole thing
I see.
was.
I see.
So bringing it here, he brought a few of the Brits over,
Yeah.
and we auditioned here, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's, you know, some same cast, some different.
How did that change in terms of who was given what pieces? Like, I mean, like, Beth wasn't in it in the West End,
No,
was she?
yeah.
Yes, and now
Yeah.
she's doing Ladies Who Lunch.
Correct.
Or
And Little Things
yeah,
with Gavin.
Yes, right. Things,
and,
what
you
did,
know, and
did much
Gimmick.
change or no?
No, the show order didn't change from what they did,
Mhm.
but it's interesting the way everybody has a number.
Mm.
Nobody has like a name. So your person that you are actor number 11.
Mm-hmm.
And they very much have thought out what your path is through the show.
Right. Your track for every yeah.
So,
Right.
you know, take for instance, you know, Jacob Dickey starting off in the, you know, is he Wolf first? Yeah, I mean, he's in the company thing, but then he's, you know, you see him as the Wolf, and then he gets his throat slit, and then he's George.
Right.
And, you know, then he gets to start being a lot, you know,
Yeah.
It's just like this. And their reasoning when they created the show was this character started here and they do these different
Right.
characters and they end up here. And there's a reason why they end up there
Yeah. That's super interesting.
with every single person in the cast.
A big part of Sondheim and what makes it is that how complicated his music is from an acting perspective, from a music perspective. There are time signatures that are switching left and right. I mean, things like that. What would you say is a trick or something that you're thinking about when something, like, to me, at times, from the liminal knowledge I have playing piano, from the classes that I took when I was a kid, like, a time signature change rocks my world because I'm thinking of something one way. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of, I'm here and I'm in my common time. Or if I'm in a 12/8, like something like, do you guys do Weekend in the Country in the show? Isn't Weekend in the Country in 12? Yeah, so like Weekend in the Country, right? Like that's a number, that's in 12/8 if I'm right. 6/8?
But that's one of the easy ones.
Really? What are some of the hard ones?
Well, you think about, what was it?
Bounce? Is that one?
No,
That's easy too, because that's in 4. And that's right. That's the fun one where they put it in the middle of I
Yeah,
know things
I Know
now.
Things
That was
Now.
Bernadette's idea.
Ooh,
She's smart.
yeah.
She
Yeah.
really is, and she's the nicest person on the planet.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
so, I mean-
Sweeney opening number, to a certain extent, that's a little
Yeah,
tricky.
Sweeney's tricky. Yeah. Like Sweeney was probably the one that I was like a little.
Yeah.
I had not done Sweeney,
Okay.
so that was new to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Company, that opening number is, you know, starts in 4, goes into 6. You can go into 2. You know, it just depends
Yeah.
on how you choose to do it.
Yeah.
But the quarter note is stable. So
Okay.
that's, you know, there's different things that happen in
Yeah.
each number. Into the Woods is easy because 4.
Uh-huh.
You know, Agony is in,
Right.
you know.
How much of it is, how important is that what we talked about earlier, like putting yourself, your emotion into that along with the numbers, especially when they're changing like that?
100%.
Yeah.
You can't do anything halfway.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can't,
Yeah.
I should say.
Right.
And it's by far, hands down, hardest show I've ever done.
Really?
Oh yeah, because it's every freaking 11 o'clock number, or,
Yeah.
or super popular number,
Right.
one after the other,
Yeah.
hour and 10,
Mm-hmm.
hour and 5.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they basically bookend each other.
Right.
And it's really funny because I had an actor come up to me at one point in LA. Once we did 3 weeks rehearsal here, and then we went to go tech there. And the person came up and said, like, oh, I'm finally feeling pretty good about this because I'm realizing that, like, we're on the stage for the opening number, and then move into Company, and then I leave for 10 minutes. and then I come back and I do Into the Woods and do a duet, and then I leave for another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I come back and I'm like, good for you.
Wow.
Well, good that you figured that out.
Well, that's great.
That's great for you because
maybe one
the
day we should do a
orchestra-
job swap.
Yeah. So it's no joke because you start from the top of the show.
Yeah.
And there's no, and every, like, the most repetitive note that I received as conductor or music director was like, don't wait for audience.
Come in.
Faster. Like, go.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
start the next
Well,
one.
because you guys are doing it. You
Yeah.
also are doing a 2.5-hour show with,
Yeah.
with an intermission. It's not like
Yeah.
and you got to make it through it all. You know. And every number is someone's favorite number.
Right.
You know. I mean,
Right.
like for me,
opening
Live
act,
Alone
right.
and Like It. When are you gonna hear that on never heard that on stage, but I
Right.
love that. That's my Sondheim. Nobody take it. But like that's I've never heard that number on a stage. And it's from the
Yeah.
movie. You know, like.
Yeah. Well, and everybody asks, like, where's that from?
Right.
And everybody asks, like, where's Boy from? You
Yeah,
know, I
the
mean, there's
boyfriend.
all
Yeah,
these.
yeah. Right,
Yeah.
right. That's like
But
all
that-
the minutia.
That's the thing about this show is you get done with company and everybody's clapping and I'm starting
Yes, right.
little
right.
things, you know, and
Yeah.
you get done with that and she's like, take the you know, and like everything is just
Right.
keeping
One of
it
the
moving.
craziest thing, and maybe I'm mistaken, but Act 2 opens with Tonight quintet, correct?
Act 2 opens with the entr'acte with the
And that's
orchestra.
what you guys get a little break and then run into Bernstein. I'm like, yeah, great. Arguably,
Yeah.
one of the best conductors ever. You're doing his composition, which I look at and my brain breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
early Sondheim lyrics. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're seeing the complete. I was gonna ask this question. I gave it to you, but
Yeah.
Sondheim talks about God is in the details a lot. Is there any detail doing this show that you noticed that you never noticed before with any of the shows? And you definitely have plenty, but
That's a good question, but I don't know that I have the answer to that. I mean, what's interesting to me is just everybody's take on what they're doing. And also that, for instance, we all know Bernadette does not do the same thing twice.
Yeah.
Same song, but not,
Right.
you know, and you just have to be, and the brilliance of Sondheim is it's acting, the songs are acting, so, you know, so it'll take you different places, different days, and so you got to be ready to go,
Yeah.
which is why I'm there.
Right,
You know, I
right.
mean, that's the thing about conducting her is, it's never the same and it's never boring and it's not, but it always makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not like following somebody who hasn't really thought it through and doesn't really,
Yeah.
and you know, and it always makes sense to
Yeah.
me where she's gonna go. Same with Leia.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. The veterans, the people. Do you have well, actually, I want to ask you this because you mentioned your husband. Have you ever conducted your husband?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you have?
Of course.
Yeah?
We always laugh about this. The way we met,
Uh-huh.
he was hired as my assistant conductor. Like today, I'd be canceled, but we didn't date right away. But like we met on,
Yeah.
on tour.
That's funny.
We just did our 24th wedding anniversary, so
Oh,
it all worked
congrats.
out. So
Congrats.
thank God.
That's awesome. That's cool.
But yeah, so I conducted him a lot on that
Yeah.
tour. He came in as key one for Saigon, and then our cellist left like a year later, and he moved over to the cello chair.
Oh, cool.
Because it's easier to have somebody come in on that chair
Yeah.
than that particular. That was a bear of a book. He played a lot for me. He subbed a lot for me when at Once Upon a Mattress.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh my
The
gosh.
last show he has done was conducting Sutton and Hugh and Music Man.
Oh, yes, I did
So,
know that
yeah.
actually. Oh,
So
lovely. I love
he's
that.
had this amazing niche of a career where he's basically done all the R&H. Like we've kind of like done our own thing while doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's
So,
incredible.
yeah.
Mattress must have been really special too. I mean, like you had, so like you had mentioned it a little briefly, but like Adam Gettle, I imagine, had some input, right? Or no?
Lots, yeah.
He did,
Yeah.
yeah, because he was
Yeah.
he was taking over for what his mom had left
Yeah.
behind. And you guys were also again on stage the entire time.
Yeah.
You can't hide.
No,
Yeah.
can't. No. And that, I mean, but the difference is super fun, silly
Yeah.
show
Wacky. Yeah.
with a message, you know.
Yeah. Of course.
And then there's Sutton
Yeah.
and Michael Urie,
Mm-hmm.
two of the silliest people on a guest
So
star. I
funny,
mean, come
yeah.
on. Brooks.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it
Really,
was,
he was great in that show.
Yeah. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
a happy, how can you be mad? Can't be mad at that.
Yeah.
And fun music. And
What were some of the things that Adam was inputting? Because he was, you know, like nothing really changed per se, but what were some of the notes that he had or things that he would?
One of the big things that changed was when they do, it was an encores transfer, and when they do
Right.
it at encores, they do it with generally the full orchestral, whatever was
Right.
called for when it was originally written.
Mm-hmm.
So 28 pieces or whatever it was, but transferring to the little tiny Hudson Theater
Mm-hmm.
was not going to accommodate that
Right.
at all. So I think, how many did we have? 16? I can't remember. 14, 16. So the difference was using Bruce Coughlin's orchestrations for the transfer of Mattress, which was, I think Adam suggested that.
Yeah.
So there were some different, but there were, we cut and pasted, but like some things we kept from the original orchestrations, some things were Bruce's, and you know, so it was kind of a
Mixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a dream show that you want to work on?
I think I'm doing it.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sure there's something else in
Down
the
the
horizon.
pipeline. Yeah.
Speaking of Floyd Collins, I mean,
Yeah.
like, I just love his
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful.
You know, and we didn't really get to know each other until we did the recording of Mattress,
Yeah.
and he was very nice to me, and I just, like, I would love to
Work
do
with him on
whatever,
anything.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just, I keep joking with people that what is there after old friends when you've
Right.
conducted Bernadette Peters on a nightly basis, and Leia Salonga, and Beth Level, and that orchestra, and
Yeah.
the orchestrations, and you know,
Yeah.
I
A
don't
joy.
even want to think about how it's going to be to do the last show.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, I mean,
I'm
it's
sure.
just going to be, and it's just such a great family of people. But
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
I love that. So we want to play a little game with you.
Oh God.
So we're doing something. Jake, can you get me the speaker? I think it's right down there.
Do you do this with everybody?
Oh yeah, but not quite. That we do a little different thing with everyone.
Don't test
and
me. You're
we're
not gonna test
we're
me, are you?
we might.
So
So
did I mention my ACT score was terrible? I panicked. I'm gonna like.
so what we're gonna do is
If
because
this goes badly, you are to cut.
we'll just cut it. We'll just cut it. That's the best part. So we want to put you to the test and do a little Sondheim Trivia. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to play you 3 seconds of a song and see if you can get it. Some will be easier than others. Some will be harder. So here we go.
Were
I'm
you
just trying to pull
mean?
it up.
Are you just picking really obscure things?
No.
Because I don't know everything.
Some of these are very odd.
Yeah. So okay. So let's start with what I think is an easy one. But we'll see. Okay. Here we go.
Come on. I conduct that every night.
Hell yeah! What is it?
It's Weekend in the Country.
Weekend of the Country. That is correct. Okay, good.
Well,
See, we're
90s.
starting off easy. Okay. Next one.
Is it Assassins? Is it
It is Assassins.
Jody?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Who, in the revival, Alex Gemignani played John Hinckley.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Unworthy of Your Love. That's correct. Okay, great.
Unworthy of your love.
Okay. No. This one's like a little tricky. You know it?
Yeah, and there's a big old hint.
A big old hint.
Yeah, for this one for sure. But I don't know if I want to give it this early. Maybe we want to play it again.
Okay, I'll play it one more time.
Is this a bounce? Is this more recent?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It is,
Bounce. Yeah, that was good.
See, now I
That was
never
great.
worked on Bounce, I don't really know that show inside.
Yeah, your aunt was in that show. Originated that show. Okay.
I've played that.
I'll play it for you one more time.
Another.
Ah!
I was just gonna say.
Oh man, I ruined it.
I said it was like it's company. It's another
Yeah.
100 because Pam
Yeah.
Myers was my wicked stepmother in the Woods revival.
Whoa, no way. Oh wow, that's so cool.
So I knew that one.
Yes,
It
another
just-
100
yeah.
people. Another 100 people. I spoiled it. Oops.
And Anika Noni Rose did it for
For-
Phil. She
Really?
sang it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize
She
that.
sang it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another.
That sounds like it's from Psycho. I'm not sure.
From Psycho.
What?
Oh, come on, really? Oh, wait, here we go.
Are you gonna play a little more of it? Does the vocal
I'll
come
play
in?
a little bit. You really don't know it? I'm shocked, Krishnan.
Yeah, I'm very shocked.
I'm shocked and maybe a little disappointed. It's Kiss Me from Sweeney.
Oh,
Yeah.
I knew Sweeney.
Kiss
Yeah.
Me. Yeah. All right, I'll give you this.
I know, right?
I'll give you
I don't
this
feel so
one.
bad if you didn't know it.
I'll give you this
and,
one.
you know, to that end, I haven't done Sweeney.
Right.
I mean, so like there's these, you know.
Yeah.
Once you do it, it's in there forever. But
Yes, right.
Same thing
sure.
with acting.
Right?
Okay, let's hear this one. This will be our last one.
make it easy. Come on. I said make it easy, but not that
Not
easy.
that easy. That was the Tonight Quintet.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a thrill every night.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Isn't it?
It's amazing. It's
it's-
amazing, and Kyle's incredible, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's awesome. We love it. We want to manifest the dream guest. We do this every time. Manifest someone to be sitting in this chair. It could be anyone. It could be, you know, we've had people from all ranging from Carol Burnett to Nathan Lane to, you know, I'm like trying to think of our most recent Jonathan Groff. I mean, everyone.
That
Stroh.
you
Yeah.
want to see.
Yeah, to come and sit in this chair to be a guest, and then we'll invite you back.
To talk to you.
Yeah.
Oh. Let me think about it.
Oh.
There's so many good people.
Yeah. Well, you're our first person on who's team music.
Uh-huh.
We've had a bunch of team dance people. We've had team casting, but you're our first team music, which is pretty exciting for us.
I feel like you should talk to. You need to get the composers on. You should talk to Adam Gattel. And right?
Oh yeah.
God, I love his music.
Oh yeah.
He just has like it's his sound. I can't wait to see what
It's-
Millions is. I haven't heard
I know
any
Millions.
of it.
Yeah. I know. Me too. We were gonna go to Atlanta to see it.
Yeah.
I will take that. That is
Yeah.
fantastic. I'll take Adam Gettle.
I mean, you know, it's like, I mean, I only know Floyd Collins because my husband's like, that's one of my favorite shows ever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
me being dumb, I'm like, what? You know, so, but Piazza's, I think, one of the most gorgeous scores ever written.
Yeah. And
Hands down.
we saw Floyd. We saw Floyd for a second time last night.
Oh,
It's
you
just
did. And I loved it.
everything.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Like,
It's brilliant.
ever,
It's brilliant. Okay, we end the podcast with the same question every time we started this podcast by asking you who your I Want to Be Like You was when you were a kid. But now we want to ask you who is your I Want to Be Like You now? It could be anyone. It could be, you know, a celebrity or someone in your life or whoever you'd like.
oh, that's too hard to just come up with
Yeah.
an answer.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be one person.
You know, when you have been doing this for 30 years or whatever,
Uh-huh.
you work with so many people that, you know, are inspirational and you know, I have friends who like started in the biz and transitioned out, and like, my best girlfriend is super inspirational. She was on the Saigon tour with us, and then she finished Broadway and got her master's in psychology and sociology, and was a social worker and worked at the Actors Fund Home for 20 years, and you know, people like that. I feel like are who we should all aspire to be.
Malleable,
helpers.
flexible.
I know that what we do sometimes, I kid and I go, yeah, they pay me to play pretend, and that, like, we, you know, art, just in itself very important, especially now. But people like her, you know,
I love that.
That's beautiful. They inspire me.
I love that. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. This is super fun.
This is like the best. We feel so lucky to have you on. Really, I'm so glad you're here. This was a blast. We loved Old Friends. It was one of my favorite shows of the season.
Thanks.
Break legs the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
And there it is. I Want to Be Like Annbritt DuChateau. I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes is produced by Elbi and Christian Cespedes. Special thanks to Angelina Cespedes, Jake Santora, Vincenzo Salvatore Cakes, and of course, Annbritt DuChateau.